As part of its oversight and constitutional function, the National Assembly has been holding public hearings beaming the searchlight on different ministries and parastatals of government with the aim of ensuring judicious use of public funds. One of such public hearings was held June 30th, 2008 by the Senate Committee on Aviation. Former Minister of Aviation, Chief Fani Kayode, was invited to shed light on the 19.5 billion naira Aviation Intervention Fund.
Please take your notes.
I, Fani Kayode,
do hereby swear on the Holy Bible.
Do hereby swear on the Holy Bible
that the evidence I shall give.
That the evidence that I shall give
before this committee.
Shall
be the truth.
Shall be the truth.
The whole truth.
The whole truth.
And nothing but the truth.
And nothing but the truth.
So help me God.
So help me God.
My respected predecessor in office said that the money had not been spent at all for the Safe Tower project by the time he left. Mr. Chairman, I want to put it on record that 6.5 billion naira was credited to the bank account of Zenith Bank on the 1st of September. I have the bank statement here. I also want to say that on the 4th of September, 6.134, that's 6 billion or 6.134 billion naira was withdrawn from that same account. Of that same year, that is 2006. I have the bank account here and I will tender it. I would also want to say, sir, that when I assumed office, which was on November the 6th, I met 143 million naira left in the Zenith Bank account. That is the intervention fund account. I have the evidence for that here. I also want to say, sir, that two other issues, and I think it's very important if we really want to get to the bottom of this, that everybody understands why people did what they did when they did it. It's very important. And there's been so much disinformation on this issue that I'm very happy we're having this hearing today. The issue of where the money came from, if I can just quickly touch on that and then I'll get to my script. The fact of the matter, Mr. Chairman, is this. As far as I'm concerned, and again, I have the documentary evidence here to prove it, this money was sourced, or supposed to have been sourced, that is the 6.5 billion naira, from what the government calls the Natural Resources Development Account. I have the evidence right here in front of me. It says source of fund, borrowing from the Natural Resources Development Account, which currently has 47 billion naira in it. Balance is approved by Mr. President, via letter, blah, blah, blah. Okay? That is the first evidence I will tender on that issue. The second evidence I will tender on that issue is this. Again, I have a copy. I'm not sure whether this can be tendered, but I have a copy of a memo here. Okay? The memo is very, very clear. Council memo. It's an old one, and I want to assume that it's fair for me to say this.
Declassified.
Very good. That's what I want. Okay, I have that here. Okay. It says here clearly, Council approved. I will read it. Council approved the award of contract for the replacement of obsolete equipment in the nation's international airports to the consortium of Amstel of Vienna, Austria, and Abuja in the sum of 38 million euro and 300 million naira with a completion period of 9 months to be funded with a loan from the Natural Resources Development Account. That is evidence number 2. Evidence number 3, sir, is this. A letter written by the Ministry of Aviation for the Honorable Minister at that time. The letter reads as thus. I am directed to convey the approval of the Federal Executive Council for the award of contract in respect of the above-mentioned project, Amstel of Vienna, Austria, and Abuja, in the sum of 38 million euro and 300 million naira with a completion period of 9 months to be funded with a loan from the Natural Resources Development Account. Now, let me just make one more point before I get to my script, sir. And this is very important. The issue of paying back the money, that is the 6.5. My distinguished older brother and predecessor in office said that clearly, and I wouldn't have said this had it not been said that this money was supposed to have been paid back by the balance of the intervention fund when we receive it. Now let me be very clear, that is not the case. That is not the case. And I have evidence to prove what I'm saying right here, sir. Is a letter written by Muhammad Yusuf, who was at that time the MD of FAN, and the letter was written to the Honorable Minister, basically confirming the terms of repayment of that loan from the Natural Development Fund. And this is what the letter says. Paragraph, item 2 on the letter says this: consequent upon the approval, sir, NAMA should be directed to formalize the agreement with FAN in respect of repayment of the loan together with associated charges thereon. NAMA should be directed to commence repayment of the loan together with the charges thereon back to FAN with effect from the date of disbursement. What this clearly shows, Mr. Chairman, is that from day one, the arrangements are simple and clear. One, get the money from the Natural Resource Fund. Use it for Safe Tower. Two, this money will be paid back by FAN and NAMA over a period of time. And I have more documents to prove that. That was the intention from day one. Now, the issue of, again, my sister who was in council with us, Ngozi Iwela, is this. And I think it's only her that can answer this question, because it would have been better, in my view, if she were here to answer it. It would have settled this issue once and for all. She wrote a letter to Mr. President. In that letter, she stated clearly that she was referring to a council approval, saying that the money could be sourced from the bank or from the Natural Resource Fund. She now recommended that the 6.5 billion for Safe Tower should be sourced from the bank as opposed to the Natural Resource Fund. And Mr. President approved it based on the instruction from his Minister of Finance. What I want to say clearly and categorically is this: when I went to the Ministry of Aviation, I looked long and hard for that memo. The only memos I could find were an approval from council that the money should be borrowed from the Natural Resource Fund. Nothing to do with the commercial bank. What I am aware of is that the prior recommendation by the Paul DK report stated clearly that this money that we want for aviation can come from one of two sources: consortium of banks or Natural Resource Fund. By the time the matter went to council, it was argued, I'm told, 19.5 was agreed, not 13, 19.5, it was agreed, and the source of the funding was supposed to come from the Natural Resource Fund. Now, that is that aspect. One more thing which I think it's fair for me to say now is this, before I go into my script. The issue of paying back the Natural Resource Fund loan, the 3% loan, which for me, is really what created a problem with this whole setup, with the whole thing, okay? Because it was crippling FAN and it was crippling NAMA. Now, when we were about to leave office, we had a bit of and I'm glad the Honourable Minister is here, because they told us that we had to pay all that money back, And I wrote to Mr. President and I pointed out the fact that if that money is taken from the budget 2007, aviation will be crippled in Nigeria, will be back to crashes and so on and so forth. Strongly worded letter. Based on that, he said that the Ministry of Aviation should discuss this issue with the Ministry of Finance, and it was a very tough deal. I mean, we had protracted negotiations, but at the end of the day, thank goodness the minister's here. She was very gracious, she helped us, and the agreement that we came to was that it should be paid back over a period of 5 years. That's what and I have all the documents, and I will tender them. 5 years. And I left aviation, under the impression that not only had I left 7.2 billion in the account of the intervention fund, but also FAN and all the rest would not have to, pay that money from their budget 2007, because it would have crippled them. Now, as far as I am aware, that money was not deducted en masse. I learned later that it was taken out, and I was shocked. If it came out on 25th of May, then it is contrary to the recommendation that the Minister of Finance made to Mr. President when we had our discussions. I have a copy of that letter as well. And I think that was a very, very, very terrible move on the part of whoever it was. I have always assumed that happened under this administration. And if the MD of FAN is correct in what he's saying, then I'm sorry, whoever did it, it's bound to have an effect on the aviation sector in this country. So, Mr. Chairman, having said that, I thank you for allowing me to just start with those brief points. If I could get down to really what I came here to do, to tell you precisely, what I did, and I have all the documents I mentioned. I would like to tell you to you right now. And please, the bank statement, because I'm very sensitive about such issues. If somebody says money was not there and it was spent after he left, that is the evidence for you, sir.
Blessed be the name of the Most High God, the God whose I am and the God whom I serve. Blessed be his holy name forever. Mr. Chairman, members of this distinguished committee,